Lieutenant Samantha Kelly stood at the window of the Interstellar Defense Academy, watching the 3 moons of planet Nexus rise over the horizon. She took a deep breath. Tomorrow would be her first day as an instructor at the most elite military training facility in the galaxy. She still couldn't believe she was here. 5 years ago, humans had made first contact with the Galactic Alliance, a federation of 28 alien species that had been exploring space for thousands of years. Earth had been shocked to learn they were far behind in technology and space travel. The Alliance had been surprised by humans too, but for different reasons. Samantha turned away from the window and looked at her small room. The bed was too long for a human, designed for the taller Zalorian species. The air smelled slightly of mint and metal, adjusted to be breathable for most species, but not quite like Earth. She checked her tablet one more time, reviewing the files of the cadets she would be training. This year was special. For the first time, 5 humans had been accepted into the Academy's elite program. Until now, humans had only been allowed in basic training. The Alliance Council had doubts about letting humans join at all. Too unpredictable, they said. Too emotional, others argued. But Earth's governments had pushed hard, and finally, a compromise was reached. 5 human cadets would join the program, and 1 human instructor would join the teaching staff. Samantha had been chosen because of her background in special forces training and her calm under pressure. At least that's what Admiral Franklin Rogers had told her when he offered her the position. A soft chime sounded, alerting her to the time. The staff meeting would begin in 10 minutes. Samantha straightened her blue uniform, the patches on her shoulders showing Earth's symbol alongside the Academy's star insignia. She stepped out into the curved hallway, joining the flow of various alien species heading to the central chamber. Some nodded to her politely. Others stared with multiple eyes or sensing organs. A few ignored her completely. Samantha had learned not to take it personally. To many of these beings, humans were still a curiosity, barely more advanced than wildlife on some of their worlds. The meeting chamber was a large room with a round table in the center. Chairs of various designs accommodated the different body types of the instructor species. Admiral Rogers, a tall human with gray hair and dark skin, stood at the head of the table. He was one of only 3 humans in senior positions in the entire Alliance fleet. "Welcome to the new training cycle," he said after everyone was seated. "This year brings special challenges and opportunities. As you know, we have expanded our cadet acceptance to include 5 humans." A rumble of clicks, hums, and translated words filled the room. Not all of it sounded positive. "Additionally," Rogers continued, "Lieutenant Kelly has joined our instructional staff. She will be leading the survival and combat resilience training programs." Samantha felt the attention shift to her. She nodded respectfully to her new colleagues. Most returned the gesture, but several did not. Major Zix Toral, a Zalorian officer with 4 arms and pale blue skin, spoke up. His words came through the universal translator with a slight delay. "I fail to see how creatures who only achieved faster-than-light travel a decade ago can offer tactical insights to species with millennia of space combat experience," he said. His 4 arms were crossed in what Samantha had learned was a gesture of extreme disapproval. Admiral Rogers remained calm. "The Alliance Council believes diversity of approach has value. Humans have survived and thrived on what many of your species would classify as a death world. Their adaptability in crisis situations is remarkable. Primitive survival skills are not the same as advanced tactical knowledge," argued Captain Vaknar, an insectoid Tarask whose mandibles clicked rapidly as the translator conveyed his words. "Let's allow results to speak for themselves," Rogers said firmly. "Now let's review the incoming cadet profiles." The room's large screen displayed information about the 300 new cadets. Only 5 were human. Gary Bishop. Rogers highlighted the first human profile. Former Special Operations soldier, expert in underwater and zero-gravity combat. The screen changed to show a woman with dark hair. Nicole Howard, astrophysicist with additional training in emergency response. Next came a young man with red hair. Patrick Summers, top of his class in tactical analysis and strategic planning. The fourth profile showed a woman with brown skin and curly hair. Olivia Clark, survival specialist, has lived in extreme environments on Earth, including deserts, Arctic regions, and high mountains. The final human was a man with blonde hair, Daniel Morris, former disaster response coordinator, expert in managing crisis situations and team dynamics. After the meeting, Samantha returned to her quarters to prepare for tomorrow's first class. As she walked, she heard footsteps behind her and turned to find Commander Ilara, a luminary whose crystalline body refracted the hallway lights into rainbow patterns. "Lieutenant Kelly," the commander's translated voice came through clearly. "I wanted to welcome you personally." "Thank you, Commander," Samantha replied. "I look forward to working with you." "I should warn you," Ilara continued, her crystal form shifting slightly. "Not all instructors share my curiosity about humans. Some see your presence here as political." Samantha nodded. "I understand. I'm here to teach and to learn. My cadets' performance will speak for itself." "The 5 human cadets arrive tomorrow," Ilara said. "They will face significant challenges. Many of the alien cadets come from species with natural advantages, enhanced strength, telepathic abilities, or genetic modifications. Humans have our own advantages," Samantha replied. "We're good at surprising people." Ilara's crystal form changed color slightly, a gesture Samantha couldn't interpret. "I look forward to seeing these surprises. Good evening, Lieutenant." The next morning, Samantha stood at attention as the new cadets filed into the enormous training hall. The 5 humans entered together looking small compared to the towering Zolorians and the heavily armored Terrasks. They found their places in the formation, standing straight despite the obvious tension. Admiral Rogers gave a short speech about honor and duty. When he finished, the cadets were dismissed to their first classes. Samantha watched as her 5 human cadets walked away, surrounded by aliens who regarded them with everything from curiosity to contempt. "They have no idea what's coming," she thought to herself. She had reviewed the training regimen last night. It was designed to break cadets from even the most advanced species. The Academy expected the humans to fail within the first month. Samantha smiled slightly. The Academy was about to learn an important lesson about humans. When pushed to their limits, humans didn't break. They evolved. 3 weeks into training, Major Zixtoral watched the cadets with growing frustration. The simulation room was filled with artificial smoke, emergency lights flashed red, and the floor periodically shook to simulate hull damage. The cadets were running through their 3rd decompression drill of the day. "Again," he ordered, his forearms crossed as he observed the chaos. "Your response time is still too slow." The cadets scrambled to their positions. The Zolorian cadets moved with practiced efficiency, their forearms allowing them to work the emergency equipment with ease. The Tarask cadets clicked instructions to each other in their native language as they sealed compartments. The crystalline luminary cadets glowed brighter as they focused on the technical aspects of the drill. But it was the humans who caught his attention. Nicole Howard reached the emergency panel first, her fingers flying over the controls. Gary Bishop and Patrick Summers worked together to seal the simulated hull breach faster than any team had done before. Olivia Clark was already distributing emergency breathing masks to the team, while Daniel Morris coordinated their efforts with calm, clear commands. "Time," Zixtoral announced when the simulation ended. He stared at his datapad in disbelief. 4 minutes and 18 seconds, that's impossible. Nicole Howard stepped forward, her face flushed from exertion, but her voice steady. "Is there a problem with our time, sir?" Zixtoral's upper arms twitched in irritation. "The previous record was 5 minutes and 40 seconds. How did you improve so quickly?" "We practiced during our rest periods, sir," Gary Bishop explained. "Daniel suggested we might use Earth techniques for submarine emergency protocols. They translate well to space emergencies." "You practiced during rest periods?" Zixtoral's translator couldn't fully convey his tone, but his body language showed clear disbelief. "Yes, sir," Daniel Morris confirmed. "We're used to adapting quickly. On Earth, conditions can change rapidly. We learn to adjust or die." Zixtaral dismissed the class shortly after. As the cadets filed out, he noticed the other alien cadets looking at the humans with new expressions. Not quite respect yet, but definitely reassessment. This worried him more than he wanted to admit. Later that day in the officers' mess hall, the alien instructors gathered at their usual table. Commander Alara's crystalline form caught the light as she sat down across from Zixtaral. "The humans are showing unusual aptitude," she observed, her voice coming through the translator with a musical quality. "Particularly in stress scenarios. It's their primitive biology." Captain Vecnar clicked through his mandibles as he joined them. The insectoid Tarisk's compound eyes reflected the light in fractured patterns. "They evolved on a death world. Their stress responses are excessive." Zixtaral slammed one of his 4 hands down on the table, causing several nearby officers to turn and look. "They should not be outperforming species with genetic enhancements and technological advantages. It defies logic." "Perhaps our logic is flawed when it comes to humans," Ilara suggested quietly. "Did you see what happened in the tactical simulation yesterday?" Vecnar asked, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "The human Patrick Summers developed a completely new approach to the Gorgon Nebula scenario. Even the simulation AI was caught off guard." "And the physical endurance tests?" another officer added from across the table. "The human Gary Bishop completed the course designed for Dravian heavy worlders. That should be physically impossible for a human frame." Zixtaral didn't want to hear more. The evidence was becoming undeniable. In the survival course, Olivia Clark had created a livable environment in a toxic atmosphere simulation that even the environment-adaptable Tarasques struggled with. Nicole Howard had reprogrammed a failing life support system faster than the Luminary tech specialists. As the conversation continued around him, Zixtaral checked his messages. There it was, the notification he'd been expecting. Junior Officer Trill Pex, a fellow Zolorian specializing in psychological warfare, had submitted her withdrawal from the teaching program. The message was brief. "I cannot instruct creatures who seem to thrive on the very stress that should break them." She was the first, but Zixtaral suspected she wouldn't be the last. The next morning, Lieutenant Samantha Kelly found herself summoned to Admiral Rogers' office. The Admiral sat behind his desk, reviewing reports on a holographic display. "Lieutenant," he greeted her, gesturing to a chair. "Please sit." "Is there a problem, sir?" Samantha asked as she took a seat. "That depends on your definition of problem," Rogers replied, turning off the display. "I've just received the first instructor resignation. Junior Officer Trilpex has quit the program." "May I ask why?" She cited an inability to understand human psychological responses to stress, Rogers said with a small smile. "Apparently, your cadets are performing too well." Samantha tried to keep her expression neutral. "I'm sorry to hear that, sir." "Are you?" Rogers raised an eyebrow. "Because I'm not. The Alliance Council has been monitoring our progress closely. They're impressed with the human cadets' performance, something they didn't expect. The cadets are working exceptionally hard, sir. They understand what's at stake." Rogers nodded. "Earth's position in the Alliance hinges on proving our worth. These 5 cadets carry a heavy burden. They're aware, sir. That's why they train during rest periods and study alien physiology in their limited free time. They know they're at a disadvantage compared to species with natural abilities we don't possess." Rogers leaned forward. "What's your assessment of their chances to complete the full program?" Samantha didn't hesitate. 100%, sir. They'll not only complete it, but they'll excel. Even the endurance test? No team has ever completed it without casualties. Especially the endurance test, sir. If there's one thing humans understand, it's endurance." As Samantha left the Admiral's office, she passed Major Zix Taral in the hallway. The Zolorian officer stopped, all 4 of his arms tensing as he spotted her. "Lieutenant Kelly," he said stiffly, "I need to speak with you about your cadets." "Of course, Major. What seems to be the issue?" "They are disrupting the natural order of the training program. Their performance is causing confusion among the other cadets." Samantha kept her voice level. I wasn't aware that exceeding expectations was considered disruptive, Major. There is exceeding expectations, and then there is defying fundamental principles of species capability, Zixtoral replied. The human Daniel Morris somehow talked a Luminari cadet through an emotional crisis yesterday. Luminari do not have emotions as other species understand them. It should not have been possible. Humans are adaptable, Major. We find ways to communicate and connect even across significant differences. This is precisely my concern, Zixtoral said. Your species lacks the telepathic abilities of the Luminari, the hive mind connectivity of the Terresks, and the multiple limb coordination of my people, yet somehow you compensate in ways we cannot predict. Is unpredictability always a disadvantage in combat situations, Major? Samantha asked quietly. The Zalorian stared at her for a long moment. The endurance test begins in 2 weeks. No human has ever participated before. I hope you have prepared your cadets for failure. As he walked away, Samantha allowed herself a small smile. Oh, I've prepared them, she whispered to herself. Just not for failure. The day of the endurance test arrived with a sense of tension that filled the entire academy. Cadets spoke in hushed tones in the dining hall. Even the instructors seemed on edge. The test was legendary among all species in the Galactic Alliance. Samantha stood in the observation room with Admiral Rogers and the remaining alien officers. The large screen showed 5 different teams entering the simulation chambers. Each team had been carefully mixed with different species, and each included one human cadet. Remember, Admiral Rogers addressed the instructors, the endurance test is not designed to be completed successfully. It is designed to teach cadets to recognize their breaking point. Major Zixtoral nodded with 3 of his 4 arms. No team has ever completed it without at least one member withdrawing. That is the purpose, to show even the most talented cadets their limitations. The simulation chambers were massive enclosed environments that could replicate almost any condition. For the next 72 hours, the cadets would face a series of escalating challenges with no rest periods. They would deal with ship failures, enemy attacks, toxic environments, and psychological warfare, all while sleep-deprived and hungry. Begin the test, Admiral Rogers ordered. On the screens, the simulation started with a jarring alarm. Each team was thrust into an emergency scenario. In Team 1, Gary Bishop and his teammates rushed to contain a simulated radiation leak. In Team 2, Nicole Howard worked frantically to restore life support systems. Teams 3, 4, and 5 faced their own crises: oxygen depletion, enemy boarding parties, and navigation failures. The first 12 hours are designed to exhaust them physically, Commander Alara explained to Samantha. Then we test their mental resilience. Samantha watched her cadets closely. They were already showing signs of stress but also determination. She had trained them as best she could, but the test was deliberately unpredictable. Hour 14. Team 2 faced their first critical decision when their ship's systems were compromised. Nicole Howard quickly identified a pattern in the failures that the others missed. Look, it's not random, she told her teammates, pointing to the diagnostic screen. The systems are failing in sequence. We can predict the next failure and prevent it. The luminary cadet next to her tilted his crystalline head. How did you see this pattern? Our diagnostic computers did not detect it. Nicole smiled tiredly. Sometimes human eyes see things computers miss. We evolved to spot predators hiding in tall grass. Pattern recognition is in our DNA. Hour 24. Team 3, led by Daniel. Morris had already adapted to the failing life support by implementing rotating rest cycles. While 2 team members worked, the others took short naps to conserve energy and oxygen. This is not in the standard protocols, a Zalorian cadet objected, when Daniel explained his plan. Standard protocols assume standard conditions, Daniel replied. We left those behind 10 hours ago. We need to adapt or we'll all fail. In the observation room, Major Zixtoral watched with narrow eyes. The human is altering the test parameters. No, Samantha corrected. He's solving the problem creatively. There's nothing in the rules against that. Hour 36. The psychological warfare portion of the test began. Each cadet was subjected to hallucinations and false sensor readings designed to create confusion and paranoia. The luminary cadets began to struggle. Their species relied on clear perceptions of reality, and the hallucinations disrupted their crystalline thought processes. In Team 4, Olivia Clark noticed her luminary teammate becoming unstable, his crystal form flickering erratically. "Focus on my voice," she told him, placing herself directly in his field of vision. "Don't trust what you see. Trust what we tell you. We'll verify reality for each other." She quickly established a buddy system within the team. Each member would confirm what others were seeing, creating a network of trust that the hallucinations couldn't break. In the observation room, 2 more alien officers submitted their resignations after watching this scene play out. "Impossible," one of them muttered as they left. The hallucination program was specifically designed to break group cohesion. They've turned it into a bonding exercise. Hour 48. The tactical portion of the test began. Each team faced a simulated enemy attack with overwhelming odds. The scenarios were designed to be unwinnable. The point was to see how long the cadets would persist before accepting defeat. In Team 5, Patrick Summers studied the tactical display with intense focus. The simulation showed 3 enemy battleships, converging on their small vessel. "This is a no-win scenario," the Tarask tactical officer clicked in frustration. "We should conserve resources and accept the loss." "There's no such thing as a no-win scenario," Patrick replied, eyes still on the display. "Only no imagination scenarios." He quickly outlined a plan that involved using the planet's magnetic field to hide their approach, then targeting a specific weakness in the enemy ship's sensor array. "How do you know this will work?" the Tarask demanded. "I don't," Patrick admitted, "but it's better than giving up." To everyone's surprise, the plan worked. The simulation recognized the creative solution and allowed their ship to escape the enemy trap. In the observation room, the tactical instructor, a veteran Tarask captain, immediately resigned his position. "I cannot teach what I do not understand," he stated. "The scenario was designed by our best strategists to be unbeatable." Hour 60. 2 of the mixed species teams were still functioning at full capacity. The other 3 had lost alien cadets to exhaustion or mental strain, but all 5 human cadets remained active and alert despite their obvious fatigue. Major Zix Toril could not hide his disbelief. How are they still functioning? They've had no sleep, minimal nutrition, and constant stress for 60 hours. "This is what humans do," Samantha explained quietly. "When everything falls apart, we keep going." "It defies biological logic," Zix Toril insisted. Admiral Rogers smiled slightly. "Perhaps your understanding of biology needs expanding, Major." Hour 70. The final phase of the test introduced a moral dilemma. Each team was forced to choose between saving themselves or rescuing a disabled civilian ship. The catch was that attempting the rescue would likely result in the loss of the entire team. Without hesitation, all 5 teams chose to attempt the rescue. In Team 1, Gary Bishop's Zalorian teammate objected. "This is suicide. The logical choice is to save ourselves and report the civilian ship's position." "Some things matter more than logic," Gary replied as he plotted an intercept course. "We don't leave people behind." Hour 72. As the simulation ended, all 5 teams remained functional, an academy first. The alien cadets looked shocked but standing. The human cadets were exhausted but satisfied. In the observation room, Major Zix Toril silently walked to Admiral Rogers and handed him a datapad. "My resignation," he said simply. "I cannot teach what I do not understand." As Zix Toril left the room, Samantha caught his final words, spoken quietly to himself but picked up by his translator. They should have broken. Instead, they became stronger. What kind of species thrives on adversity? Admiral Rogers called an emergency meeting the day after the endurance test. The academy was in crisis. Nearly half of the alien officers had resigned and rumors were spreading through the cadet ranks. The remaining instructors gathered in the conference room. their faces and postures showing various signs of stress or confusion. Would someone please explain to me how 5 humans have caused the resignation of 12 of our finest officers? Admiral Rogers asked, looking around the table. No one spoke for a moment. Then Commander Alara's crystalline form shifted, indicating she would answer. We have been analyzing their performance, Admiral, she said. It appears we fundamentally misunderstood human psychology. Captain Vecnar's mandibles clicked rapidly, in agreement. They do not merely endure adversity, they seem to enjoy it. When given an impossible scenario, they become more focused, more creative. They call it rising to the challenge. Samantha suppressed a smile. What seemed obvious to any human was apparently revolutionary to their alien colleagues. Lieutenant Kelly, the Admiral turned to her. Perhaps you can explain this human factor. Samantha straightened in her chair. Sir, humans evolved on a planet that tried to kill us at every turn. We've survived ice ages, plagues, predators, natural disasters, and even our own self-destructive tendencies. When pushed to our limits, we don't just endure. We innovate. We adapt. It's not a genetic enhancement. It's survival instinct honed. Over thousands of years of overcoming the impossible, the alien officers looked disturbed by this explanation. And there's something else, Samantha added. Humans are inherently social creatures. We draw strength from each other. The buddy systems, the team strategies, they aren't just tactics. They're expressions of our fundamental nature. The Admiral nodded slowly. So when we designed training to break individuals, we accidentally created the perfect environment for humans to demonstrate their greatest strengths, Commander Alara finished. Admiral Rogers considered this for a moment. The question now is how to proceed. We've lost too many instructors to continue the program as designed. Perhaps, suggested Commander Alara, we should not view this as a failure, but as an opportunity to learn. The purpose of the Academy is to train the best officers for the Alliance fleet. If humans bring new approaches to problems, we should incorporate those approaches, not resist them. Several alien officers shifted uncomfortably. One spoke up, a Dravian with thick armor-like skin. Are we to change centuries of proven training methods because of 5 humans? If those methods are not as effective as we thought, Rogers replied, then yes. The goal is excellence, not tradition for tradition's sake. The meeting continued for hours as they debated changes to the training program. Eventually, a compromise was reached. The core curriculum would remain, but new modules would be added that focused on the strengths different species brought to the Alliance. After the meeting, Samantha found herself walking back to her quarters alongside Commander Alara. The crystalline officer seemed deep in thought, her form shifting colors slightly as they walked. You seem troubled, Commander, Samantha observed. Not troubled, Alara replied. Fascinated. I have served in the Alliance fleet for over 70 years, and I have never seen anything like what happened in the endurance test. The humans surprised. You? More than surprised? They forced me to question assumptions I didn't even realize I was making. Alara paused. I reviewed the recordings of all 5 teams during the test. Each human approached problems differently, yet all of them found solutions outside our expected parameters. Samantha nodded. That's one of our strengths. We're not just adaptable as a species, we're adaptable as individuals. Most interesting was how they affected the non-human cadets, Alara continued. By the end of the test, alien cadets were adopting human approaches. The Luminary and Nicole Howard's team began using intuitive reasoning instead of pure logic. The Zilorians and Gary Bishop's team started working in pairs, rather than relying on their natural forearmed efficiency. Humans have always been good at influencing others, Samantha said with a small smile. This is what concerns the Council, Alara admitted. Some fear that human unpredictability could spread through the Alliance forces, making them less controllable. Samantha stopped walking. Is that what this is really about? Control? Alara's crystalline form dimmed slightly. The alliance has existed for thousands of years through careful balance and predictable behavior. Species are valued for their specific traits, Zolorians for their coordination, Terrasks for their tactical precision, my people for our analytical abilities. Humans seem to be adapters. You become what is needed in the moment. And that scares people, Samantha said, understanding. Dawning. It scares some, Alara agreed. Others, like myself, find it fascinating. Imagine what the Alliance could become with humans helping us adapt to new challenges. The next day, the cadets returned to training. The atmosphere had changed. Alien cadets were watching the humans closely, studying their approaches, asking questions. During the morning tactical exercise, Patrick Summers found himself surrounded by Terrask cadets wanting to understand his creative approach to the unwinnable scenario. I don't understand. One of them clicked through his translator. You knew the odds were against you. Why didn't you accept the logical outcome? Patrick considered the question carefully. Humans have a saying, where there's a will, there's a way. We believe that determination can overcome seemingly impossible odds. But that is not logical, the Terrask insisted. Logic is a tool, not a master, Patrick replied. Sometimes you have to go beyond logic to find new solutions. In the medical training lab, Nicole Howard was working with a group that included 2 luminary cadets. They were practicing emergency procedures for different species. Your method of diagnosing the Zolorian cardiac issue was not in the manual, one of the luminary noted. Yet it was effective. How did you know it would work? Nicole smiled. I didn't know for certain, but I noticed a pattern in how Zolorian systems respond to stress. Sometimes you have to trust your instincts along with your knowledge. Instincts, the luminary repeated as if testing the word. My people rely on precise calculations. Both have their place, Nicole suggested. The best medical practitioners use both. Across the academy, similar conversations were happening. Olivia Clark was showing a group of cadets how to adapt standard survival gear for unexpected situations. Daniel Morris was explaining how effective team communication could overcome individual limitations. Gary Bishop was demonstrating how physical training could be modified to build different kinds of strength. Inside the observation room, Admiral Rogers and Samantha watched these interactions on the monitors. It's working better than I expected, Rogers admitted. The council will be surprised. What exactly did the council expect? Samantha asked. Rogers smiled. They expected the humans to either fail or to just barely keep up. This level of integration and influence was unanticipated. Will it be a problem? Not a problem, Rogers replied. An adjustment. The Alliance has survived for thousands of years because it evolves. Humans are simply speeding up that evolution. Samantha nodded, watching the screens as her cadets continued to share human approaches with their alien teammates. What about the resigned instructors? Will they be replaced? Yes, Rogers said. I've already submitted recommendations. The council has approved them all. All? Samantha asked, surprised. All, Rogers confirmed, including my recommendation that you be promoted to captain and take over the Combat Resilience Training Division permanently. Samantha stared at him in shock. Sir, You've earned it, Captain Kelly, Rogers said, handing her the new rank, insignia. The Academy needs instructors who understand both human potential and alien perspectives. You've proven yourself capable of both. 6 months passed quickly at the Interstellar Defense Academy. The training program had been transformed. New modules focused on leveraging species-specific strengths rather than finding universal breaking points. Team compositions were strategically designed to balance inherent abilities, and most significantly, the instructor corps now included veterans from 27 different species. Today was graduation day. Captain Samantha Kelly stood tall in her new uniform, watching as the cadets lined up for the ceremony. The 5 human cadets stood among their alien classmates, no longer looking out of place or uncertain. They had earned their positions through hard work, creativity, and determination. The Grand Hall of the Academy was filled with representatives from across the Galactic Alliance. Many had come specifically to see the first human graduates. Rumors of their performance had spread far beyond the academy, causing both concern and curiosity among the Alliance leadership. Admiral Rogers stepped onto the stage. The room fell silent. Today, he began, we celebrate not just the graduation of 300 exceptional cadets, but a new chapter in the history of the Interstellar Defense Academy. This class has achieved the highest combined scores in Academy history. They have set new records in tactical innovation, survival adaptation, and team cohesion. He looked out over the gathered cadets. They have taught us as much as we have taught them. They have shown us that strength comes in many forms, and that diversity of approach is not a weakness but an advantage in the face of an ever-changing universe. The graduation ceremony proceeded with each cadet receiving their commission and assignment. When Gary Bishop's name was called, Samantha felt a surge of pride. He walked confidently to the stage, accepting his lieutenant's insignia and assignment to the Alliance flagship. One by one, the human cadets received their commissions. Nicole Howard was assigned to the medical research vessel, Celestial Healer. Patrick Summers would join the Tactical Planning Division at Alliance headquarters. Olivia Clark was given a post on the frontier exploration ship Vanguard. Daniel Morris was assigned as Crisis Response Coordinator for an entire sector of Alliance space. After the ceremony, Samantha found herself approached by a familiar blue-skinned, four-armed figure. Major Zix Itoral stood before her, looking distinctly uncomfortable. "Captain Kelly," he said formally, "I wish to speak with you." "Major," Samantha replied, surprised to see him. "I thought you had left the academy." "I did," he confirmed. "But I have returned. Not as an instructor, as a student." Samantha tried to hide her shock. "A student? But you're already a decorated officer with decades of experience." Zix Toral's four arms shifted in a gesture of humility that Samantha had never seen from him before. "Experience in Zalorian tactics and strategy. But I have come to realize there is much I do not know. Much I cannot teach because I have not learned it myself." He handed her a data pad. "This is my formal request to join the new Advanced Adaptability program that you have developed. I believe the term humans use is, I need to think outside the box." Samantha accepted the data pad, not bothering to hide her smile now. "The program starts next month. It won't be easy, especially for someone used to traditional methods." "I do not expect it to be easy," Zix's Toral replied. "That is precisely why I must do it." As the major walked away, Admiral Rogers approached. "Was that who I think it was?" he asked. Samantha nodded. "Major Zix Itoral has applied to the Advanced Adaptability Program as a student." Rogers chuckled. "The Zalorian High Command wants to know if we'll accept more human instructors. Apparently, after reviewing our graduates' performance metrics, they've reconsidered their position." "Oh? I thought the Major's resignation letter made their position clear." "It seems humans aren't the only ones who can adapt," Rogers said with a smile. Across the reception hall, the 5 human graduates had gathered together one last time before departing for their new assignments. They spoke quietly, aware of the significance of what they had accomplished. "I still can't believe we made it," Olivia said, looking at her new insignia. "Did you ever doubt?" Gary asked with a grin. "Every single day," Daniel admitted, "especially during that endurance test. I thought my heart was going to explode around hour 50, but it didn't," Nicole pointed out. "And now we've proven that humans belong here as equals." Patrick nodded. "More than equals in some ways. Did you hear? They're implementing my tactical innovations in the standard Alliance combat protocols. They're calling it the Summers Doctrine." They all laughed at that, drawing curious looks from nearby alien graduates. But the looks weren't hostile or dismissive anymore. They were respectful, even admiring. A young luminary cadet approached their group hesitantly. Her crystalline form shifted colors nervously. "Lieutenants," she said formally, "I wish to express gratitude for your contributions to our class. Many of us would not have graduated without the techniques you shared." Nicole smiled warmly. "We all helped each other. That's what teammates do." "Yes, the luminary agreed. But this concept of teamwork as you practice it was new to many of us. My people have always valued individual excellence and logical precision. The idea that a group can be stronger than the sum of its parts is revolutionary. After the luminary cadet left, Gary turned to his friends. Revolutionary. I like the sound of that. Don't let it go to your head, Olivia teased. We've still got a lot to prove out there. And a lot to learn, Daniel added. The galaxy is a big place. Speaking of learning, Nicole said, did you hear about Captain Kelly's new program? They're calling it Adaptive Response Training. It's going to be offered to veteran officers from all Alliance species. I heard it's already oversubscribed, Patrick said. Apparently the waiting list includes 3 fleet commanders and a member of the Alliance Council. Later that evening, as the celebration wound down, Samantha stood again at the window of her quarters, looking out at the 3 moons of planet Nexus. So much had changed in just 6 months. What had begun as an integration experiment had evolved into something far more profound. Humans hadn't just joined the galactic community, they had transformed it, not through superior technology or genetic advantages, but through their most basic survival traits, adaptability, tenacity, and their strange ability to convert adversity into advantage. A message alert chimed on her desk. It was from Admiral Rogers. The final resignation letter from the original Alien Officer Corps had arrived, but unlike the others, this one came with a request. I resign my position as an instructor, as I have come to realize I have more to learn than to teach. I request reassignment as a special observer to study the human capacity for what they call grit. I believe it may be the most valuable resource in the galaxy. Samantha smiled as she approved the request. For a species that had arrived late, to the galactic community, humans had certainly made an impression. They hadn't just survived the academy, they had rewritten its fundamental understanding of strength.